Princess Jia stood on the bridge of the royal flagship, her four-fingered hands clasped behind her back. Through the massive viewing screen, she watched the blue planet grow larger. Earth, the newest world marked for addition to the stellar dominion. "They are primitive," said Commander Do, his voice flat. "Their technology is at least 2 centuries behind ours. This conquest will be quick." Jia said nothing. She had seen many worlds fall to the dominion. Each time, her father the emperor said it was necessary. Each time, she wondered if it truly was. "Their leaders have been sent our terms," Do continued. "They have 24 Earth hours to surrender." "And if they refuse?" Jia asked, though she knew the answer. "Then we show them the cost of defiance." The hours passed. Earth's deadline approached. Jia studied reports about the humans, their short lives, their many languages, their constant wars with each other, yet also their art, their music, their yearning to explore beyond their world. When the deadline came, Earth's answers surprised them all. "They refuse." Commander Do seemed almost pleased. "We will now demonstrate our power." The Dominion sent 30 fighter ships toward Earth's largest military base. They expected no real challenge. The humans would learn their place quickly. On the viewing screen, Jia watched small dots rise from Earth to meet the Dominion fighters. Primitive aircraft, using combustion engines and metal frames. They should have been destroyed in seconds. But something unexpected happened. "What are they doing?" Do demanded as the human aircraft darted between the Dominion ships. Their movements were unpredictable, aggressive, skilled. Jia leaned forward, watching one aircraft in particular. While the others flew in groups, this one moved alone. It rolled and turned in ways that seemed impossible, evading energy blasts with what looked like instinct rather than calculation. "Who is that pilot?" she whispered. The human planes fired their weapons, simple missiles and bullets, ancient technology. Yet 3 Dominion ships exploded, then 5 more. "Impossible," Do shouted. "Their weapons should not penetrate our shields." But the lone pilot had found a weakness. He fired directly at the shield generators, a tiny target no computer would prioritize. When the shields flickered, he struck the engines. The bridge erupted in chaos as reports came in. 12 Dominion ships destroyed, the rest retreating. "This cannot be." Do's face had turned pale gray with rage. "Their technology is inferior." "But their pilots are not," Jia said quietly. Later, she accessed the data from the battle. The lone human pilot who had caused so much damage was identified as Captain Q. Unlike Dominion ships controlled by artificial intelligence, humans physically piloted their craft. The machines were extensions of themselves. Jia's father, Emperor Ho, called an emergency meeting. "This resistance is unexpected but futile," he declared. "We will crush them with overwhelming force." "Father," Jia spoke up, "perhaps we should study them first. Learn why they fight so effectively with such simple tools." The Emperor considered this. "You have always been curious about other species, Jia. Very well. You will lead a small research team. Learn their weaknesses." Jia bowed her head to hide her relief. She did not wish to see Earth destroyed before she understood it. That night, she watched recordings of the battle again and again. Captain Q's aircraft danced among the stars like nothing she had ever seen. The Dominion's ships were faster, stronger, more advanced. Yet they had been defeated. In her private quarters, Jia whispered to herself, "The human and his flying beast. How do they move as one? What makes them fight with such spirit?" She would find out, and perhaps in doing so, find answers to questions she had carried for years about the Dominion's endless conquests, about whether there was another way for worlds to meet among the stars. 2 weeks after the failed attack, Princess Jia stepped onto Earth soil. She wore a special suit that made her look human. Only her unusual height and the slight shimmer of her skin might make someone look twice. "Remember your mission," Commander Do said through her earpiece. "Learn how these humans fight so we can defeat them." "I understand," Jia replied, but her thoughts were her own. The Dominion had arranged a diplomatic meeting. Both sides pretended to want peace while preparing for war. Jia's disguise allowed her to move freely as part of the cultural exchange team. The military base sprawled across the land, filled with the metal birds that had defeated Dominion ships. Humans called them fighter jets. Jia studied them with wonder. They looked so simple compared to Dominion craft, yet they had proven deadly. A group of Earth officials led the alien visitors through the base. Jia hung back, hoping to see more than they wanted to show. "And here is our main hangar," said General Park, a stern woman with gray hair. "Some of our pilots are doing maintenance work." Jia's heart beat faster. In the large building, several jets sat while humans worked on them. One pilot stood out. He moved around his jet with grace, touching it gently, speaking to it. "Captain Q," she whispered, recognizing him from the battle data. While the others moved on, Jia stayed, watching. Captain Q opened panels on his jet, fixed things inside, cleaned parts with care. The Dominion ships repaired themselves with nanobots. No one touched them this way. "Are you lost?" Jia jumped. Q stood before her, wiping grease from his hands with a cloth. His eyes were dark and sharp. "No. I mean, yes." The group went ahead. She tried to sound calm. "Your aircraft. It's very interesting." Q smiled. "This old bird. She's not the newest model, but she's mine." "She." Most pilots call their planes she. It's tradition. Jia stepped closer. "Why do you fix it yourself? Don't you have repair machines?" "We have mechanics, but I like to know every inch of her myself." Q patted the metal surface. "When we're up there, we're one. I need to trust her, and she needs to trust me." Jia blinked in confusion. "But it's a machine. It can't trust." Q laughed. "Maybe not the way you think of trust. But each plane has its own personality, its own limits and strengths. When I fly, I feel what she feels. If something's wrong, I know before the computers tell me." This was strange to Jia. Dominion pilots rarely flew ships manually. The computers did the work better than any living being could. "Would you like to see inside?" Q offered. Jia nodded eagerly. He helped her climb up and settle into the cockpit. It was small, filled with buttons and screens. Jia felt the worn seat. Imagined Q sitting here, his hands on the controls, flying through danger. "When I'm in here," Q said, "nothing else exists. Just me, my plane, and the sky." Later, Jia returned to the Dominion ship. She reported what she had learned about Earth's defenses, but kept some things to herself. The way Q touched his plane, the pride in his voice, the bond between human and machine. That night, she reviewed more battle footage. Now she saw what she had missed before. The human pilots didn't just operate their aircraft. They became their aircraft. Each turn, each dive, carried the human spirit. Dominion ships were faster and more powerful, but they lacked this connection. "We have better technology," she said to herself, "but they have something we don't understand." Jia decided she needed to learn more. Not just about human weapons, but about humans themselves. About Captain Q and why he called his deadly flying machine she and spoke to it like a friend. The thought excited and scared her, because learning more about humans might mean questioning everything the Dominion had taught her about their place in the universe. 1 month into the tense peace between Earth and the Stellar Dominion, Princess Jia arranged her third visit to the planet. Her father, Emperor Ho, grew suspicious. "You spend much time among these humans," he said during their private meal. "What have you learned that requires so many visits?" Jia kept her face calm. "Humans are complex, father. Their weakness is not in their technology but in their division. They have many countries, many leaders. If we understand these divisions, we can use them." The emperor nodded, satisfied with her answer. "Good." The council grows impatient. They want Earth's resources. Jia felt a knot in her stomach. She knew what that meant for humans. The next day, she returned to Earth as a diplomatic envoy. This time, the humans had planned a special event, a military air show to demonstrate their capabilities. Both a welcome and a warning. Gia stood with other officials on a viewing platform. The sky was clear blue, perfect for flying. "Quite a display they've prepared," said Do, who had come with her this time. "Primitive posturing." Gia didn't answer. Her eyes searched for one pilot in particular. The air show began. Planes flew in tight formations, leaving trails of colored smoke. They performed loops and rolls that made the crowd cheer. Then came the solo demonstrations. Each pilot showed their best skills. Next up, Captain Q Jin in the F-35 Lightning, announced a voice over speakers. Gia leaned forward. Q's jet screamed into view, climbing straight up until it seemed to hang in the air. Then it flipped over and dove toward the ground. People gasped. At the last moment, the plane pulled up and roared past the stands. "Reckless," muttered Do. "Brave," whispered Gia. After the show, officials from both sides gathered for a meal. Gia made her way through the crowd until she found Q, still in his flight suit. "That was impressive flying," she said. He turned, surprised, then smiled when he recognized her. "The diplomat who likes planes. Thank you." "I would like to learn more about human flight," Gia said. "Your history with these machines." Q led her to a small museum on the base. Inside were old planes, photos, and displays about flight history. "Humans dreamed of flying for thousands of years," he explained, walking her through exhibits. "First, we watched birds. Then we built simple gliders. Then planes with engines." Gia studied everything with genuine interest. "And war pushed your progress." Q nodded. "Sadly, yes. In our world wars, planes became weapons. Each side tried to build better, faster aircraft." He stopped at a wall of photos showing pilots from different eras. "These are our heroes, people who pushed the limits of what was possible in the air." "In the Dominion," Gia said carefully, "our ships are mostly controlled by computers. The pilot just gives basic commands." "That sounds boring," Q laughed. "Half the joy is in the feel of the controls, the direct connection between your hands and the plane's movement." They continued through the museum. Gia learned about jet engines, supersonic flight, and how pilots trained. Everything was so different from Dominion ways. "Why do humans risk their lives to fly?" she asked as they finished the tour. "Our ships are safer." Q thought for a moment. "Freedom, maybe. In the air, there's a kind of freedom you can't find anywhere else. And when you control that power yourself, feel the machine respond to your smallest touch, it's like nothing else." Gia nodded, beginning to understand. As she left Earth that evening, she looked down at the blue planet. The Dominion Council wanted to conquer this world, take its resources, make humans serve them. Weeks ago, she wouldn't have questioned this. Now, doubt filled her mind. She thought of Q's face when he spoke of freedom in the air. Could such people ever truly be conquered? Should they be? For the first time, Princess Gia wondered if the Dominion's way was wrong. Princess Gia could not stop thinking about human flight. In her dreams, she saw Q's jet cutting through clouds, free in a way Dominion ships never seemed to be. After making excuses to her father, she returned to Earth for a fourth visit. This time, she went directly to Q with a request. "I want to experience flying in your aircraft," she said when they met at the base, "not just sitting in it on the ground." Q looked surprised. "That's against regulations. Diplomatic visitors aren't allowed in active military aircraft." "Please," Gia said. "I need to understand." Something in her voice must have reached him. Q looked around, then lowered his voice. "Meet me at Hangar 3 tonight at sunset. Wear something warm." That evening, Gia slipped away from her security team. Her heart beat fast as she walked across the darkening airfield. The sky turned orange and purple as the sun set. Q waited by his jet, now wearing a simple flight suit instead of his formal uniform. He handed her a similar suit. "Put this on over your clothes. It gets cold up there. As Gia changed, Q prepared the plane. He walked around it, checking every part with careful hands. He whispered to it like it could hear him. "Is your ship ready?" Gia asked, approaching in her bulky suit. "She's always ready," Q said with a smile. "I explained we have a special passenger tonight. She promised to behave." Gia knew he was joking, but something in his tone made her wonder. The connection between this man and his machine seemed almost magical. Q helped her climb into the back seat of the two-seat fighter. He showed her how to secure the straps and put on the helmet that would let them talk to each other. "Ready?" His voice came through clearly in her ears. "Yes," she said, trying to hide her excitement. The engine roared to life. Gia felt the vibration through her whole body. It was nothing like the smooth, silent power of Dominion ships. This was raw, physical energy. They taxied to the runway. Q spoke to someone through his radio, getting special permission for this unauthorized flight. "Hold on," he said to Gia. "Here we go." The jet surged forward. Gia pressed back into her seat as they accelerated. The force was incredible. Then suddenly, they were airborne, climbing into the darkening sky. "Oh!" Gia couldn't help her cry of surprise. The sensation was unlike anything she'd felt before. Q laughed. "That's just the beginning." He took them higher, above the clouds. Stars appeared above. Then he began to show what the plane could do. They turned, rolled, and dove. Each movement felt direct and immediate. In Dominion ships, computers smoothed everything out. This was pure, unfiltered flight. "Do you want to try?" Q asked after a while. "Can I?" "The back seat has controls too. I'll keep my hands light on mine. Feel how she responds to you." Gia gripped the stick in front of her. Following Q's instructions, she moved it gently. The plane banked right. She felt the forces shift around her. "It's like the plane is an extension of my body," she said in wonder. "Exactly." Q sounded pleased. "That's what makes flying special. Your thoughts become movement. You and the machine work together." They flew for an hour, tracing patterns in the night sky. Gia never wanted it to end. When they finally landed, her legs were shaky, but her mind was clear. Now she understood what humans found in these simple machines. It wasn't just transportation or weapons. It was partnership, freedom, joy. As they walked from the plane, Q led her to a wall near the hangar. Photos and names covered it. "What is this?" she asked. "A memorial. For pilots who never came back." His voice grew soft. "When you connect this deeply with your plane, you risk everything together. That's why we fight so hard. Each plane carries a pilot's life and dreams." Gia touched the wall gently. In that moment, she knew the Dominion had made a terrible mistake. They had judged humans by their technology, not by their hearts. "Thank you," she whispered, "for showing me the sky." Princess Gia returned to the Dominion flagship with her mind full of stars and the feeling of flight. She tried to act normal, but her brother noticed the change in her at once. Prince Ta was tall, even for their kind, with the cold eyes of their father. He found Gia in her quarters, looking at images of Earth on her screen. "Sister," he said, not bothering to knock, "we need to talk." Gia quickly closed the images. "About what, brother?" Ta walked closer, his face serious. "About your many trips to Earth, about your growing fondness for these primitive beings." "I am studying them, as father asked me to," Gia said. "Are you?" Ta picked up a small model of a human fighter jet that Gia had made. "This does not look like study. This looks like admiration." Gia stood up. "Their aircraft are interesting, different from our ships." "Inferior to our ships," Ta corrected, "just as humans are inferior to us." He put the model down hard. "The council is worried about you, sister. They say you spend too much time with humans, especially one human pilot." Gia felt cold fear. How did they know about Q? The diplomatic missions require contact with their military, she said carefully. The diplomatic mission has failed, Tay announced. Earth refuses to accept Dominion rule. Father has lost patience. He looked directly into Jia's eyes. We attack in 3 days. Full invasion. No, Jia couldn't stop her cry. They deserve more time, more understanding. Tay's eyes narrowed. Do you hear yourself? These are humans. Short-lived, violent creatures who would destroy themselves if we didn't intervene. Our rule will save them. They don't need saving, Jia argued. They have art, music, culture. They killed 12 of our pilots. Ta shouted. They refused the gift of our leadership, and now they have corrupted a princess of the royal blood. Jia stepped back. I am not corrupted. I simply see them differently than you do. That is the problem. Tay's voice grew quiet again, which was more frightening than his anger. Father wanted me to tell you personally. You are ordered back to the home world. A ship leaves tomorrow. You will be on it. But my work here is finished, Ta cut her off. And you are forbidden from any further contact with humans, especially this pilot you've been watching. What is his name? Q. Jia felt sick. If they knew about Q, they might target him specifically. The first attack will focus on their air bases, Ta continued, confirming her fears. Their flying beasts will burn on the ground. Any that rise to meet us will be destroyed. After Tai left, Jia sat in the dark, her mind racing. Everything she had learned about humans, their spirit, their connection to their machines, their love of freedom, would be crushed under Dominion rule. And Q, brave Q, who had shown her the stars from inside Earth's atmosphere, who had helped her understand what it meant to truly fly. He would be among the first to die. She couldn't let that happen. That night, while the flagship slept, Princess Jia sent a secret message to Earth. It contained the Dominion's attack plans, shield frequencies, and weak points in their ships. She addressed it to the Earth military base, where Q was stationed. This is Princess Jia of the Stellar Dominion, she wrote at the end. I send this warning because I believe your world deserves to remain free. Prepare your defenses. The attack comes in 3 days. She knew what this meant. She was betraying her people, her family, her blood. If they discovered what she had done, the punishment would be severe. But as she pressed the button to send the message, she felt something new. Something humans might call courage, or perhaps it was simply knowing, for the first time, that she was doing what was right. The transport ship that would take Princess Jia away from Earth was scheduled to leave in 6 hours. She had until then to escape. Jia packed a small bag with only what she needed. She took one last look at her royal quarters, knowing she might never see them again. Then she made her way to the small shuttles used for trips to Earth's surface. 2 guards stood at the shuttle bay doors. Princess, one said with a bow. Do you have permission to leave the flagship? Of course, Jia lied. She held up a fake authorization on her datapad. Final diplomatic mission before I return home. The guards looked at each other. Prince Ta said you were restricted to the ship. Jia's heart sank. Then she remembered what Q had taught her about flying. Sometimes you had to trust your instincts and react quickly. My brother changed his mind, she said firmly. Call him if you wish, but he is in a war meeting and will not be happy to be disturbed. The guards hesitated. No one wanted to anger Prince Ta. Very well, Princess, but please return soon. Jia nodded and entered the shuttle. Her hands shook as she started the engines. Soon she was flying toward Earth, away from everything she had known. On Earth, chaos greeted her. Her warning message had reached the human military. Soldiers ran in all directions, preparing for the coming attack. Fighter jets were being armed and fueled. When her shuttle landed, armed guards surrounded it immediately. I am Princess Jia, she called through the speaker. I sent the warning. I want to help. The guards didn't lower their weapons, just stepped out slowly, hands raised. Take me to Captain Q, she said. He knows me. They put her in a small room, and made her wait. An hour passed. Then the door opened, and Q walked in. His face was hard, not friendly like before. "They say you claim to have sent us Dominion attack plans," he said. "Why would you betray your own people?" "Because what the Dominion is doing is wrong," Gia said simply. "Earth deserves to be free. Humans deserve to fly their own skies." Q studied her face. "How do we know this isn't a trick? You could be feeding us false information." "The attack comes in less than 2 days now," Gia said. "Check what I sent you. The shield frequencies, the ship positions, all of it is real. I've given you everything I know." "Why?" Q asked again. "Why risk everything for us?" Gia thought about the feeling of flying in his jet, about the memorial wall for fallen pilots, about humans' love for their machines and their freedom. "Because you showed me something my people have forgotten," she said quietly. "The joy of controlling your own path, of feeling the machine respond to your touch, of risking everything for what matters." Something in Q's face softened. "They'll consider you a traitor." "I know." More hours passed. Jia was questioned by human military leaders. They tested her information against what they knew and found it matched. Slowly, they began to trust her. "Our defenses are weak compared to Dominion weapons," said General Park during a planning meeting. "Even with your information, we may not survive." "You have something the Dominion doesn't understand," Gia told them. "Your pilots don't just control their planes. They become one with them. That connection is powerful." The room fell silent as the humans considered this. "You really believe we can win?" Q asked. "I believe you can fight," Gia answered. "And sometimes that's enough to change everything." As the meeting ended, Q walked with Gia to a window overlooking the airfield. Dozens of jets were lined up, ready for battle. "You've given up everything for us," he said. Gia watched a pilot climb into a jet, patting its side like a trusted friend. "Not everything," she said. "I found something too. A cause worth fighting for." Their hands touched briefly. In that moment, two beings from different worlds understood each other perfectly. The attack came at dawn, just as Gia had warned. The sky filled with Dominion ships, their silver hulls catching the first light of day. They looked like stars falling to Earth. "They're here," Q said, looking up from the command center. Gia stood beside him, watching radar screens fill with enemy ships. 30 battle cruisers, hundreds of fighters. General Park gave the order, "All pilots to your aircraft." This is not a drill. The base erupted with activity. Pilots ran to their jets, ground crews made final checks, and weapon systems came online. Through the windows, Jia watched Q's squadron prepare for takeoff. "You should go with them," General Park told Q. "Your squad needs its leader." Q hesitated, looking at Jia. "Go," Jia said. "I'll stay here and help coordinate. I know how Dominion ships think." He nodded and squeezed her hand quickly before running out to the airfield. Jia turned to the communications system. "Let me speak to your pilots before they launch." General Park nodded. "Human pilots," Jia said into the microphone, her voice reaching every cockpit. "This is Princess Jia. Remember what I told you about Dominion shields? They adjust to energy weapons but not to physical projectiles. Aim for the small generators on the underside. And remember, Dominion AI cannot predict human instinct. Fly like humans, not like machines." Outside, engines roared as Earth's fighters took off. Hundreds of jets climbed into the sky to meet the invaders. Among them was Q, leading a squadron of 12 planes. "Eagle Squadron is airborne," his voice came through the speakers, "moving to intercept the first wave." Jia watched the radar as human and Dominion ships met high above the Earth. The battle had begun. "They're targeting our power plants and major cities," a technician called out. "Just as expected," Jia said. "Dominion tactics never change." On the screens, they watched the fight unfold. Human jets darted between larger Dominion ships, firing missiles at the weak points Jia had revealed. Several enemy ships exploded in bright flashes. "It's working," someone shouted. But then Dominion reinforcements arrived. New ships with different shield configurations. "They've adapted," Gia said urgently. "Tell your pilots to change targets. Aim for the engine exhausts now." General Park relayed the order. The human pilots adjusted quickly, showing a flexibility that surprised Gia. Dominion pilots would never change plans so fast. In the sky, Q's squadron dove through enemy fire, each plane moving in its own pattern, while still working as a team. Jia watched his jet on the tracking system, her heart beating fast every time he came close to danger. "Eagle 6 is hit," came a cry over the radio. One of Q's pilots was in trouble. "I see him," Q's voice was calm. "Cover me." Jia watched as Q's jet broke formation to protect his damaged teammate. 3 Dominion fighters followed him, firing energy beams that lit up the sky. "He's outnumbered," Jia whispered. But Q was not flying by computer logic. He did something no Dominion pilot would expect. He cut his engines briefly, falling behind his pursuers, then fired them back up and shot down 2 enemy ships before they could react. "Eagle 6 is clear," Q reported, returning to base with damage. The battle raged for hours. Human casualties mounted, but they inflicted heavy damage on the Dominion fleet. By midday, the first wave of attackers began to retreat. A cheer went up in the command center, but Jia did not smile. "What is it?" General Park asked her. "This was just the first attack," Jia said. "My brother will be angry now. The next wave will be worse." As if to confirm her words, a message came through on an emergency channel. It was Prince Ta himself, his face cold with rage on the screen. "Sister," he said, seeing Jia among the humans, "you have betrayed your blood. For this, Earth will burn." The message cut off. In the sudden silence, Jia thought of Q, still in his jet, low on fuel and ammunition. She thought of all the brave human pilots, fighting with their flying beasts against impossible odds. And she knew the real battle was just beginning. The Earth's forces had little time to celebrate their first victory. Within hours, Prince Ta's command ship appeared in the sky, massive and threatening. It was 3 times larger than any ship in the first attack. "He's coming himself," Jia said, watching the enormous vessel on the monitors. "My brother never sends others to finish what he considers family business." In the command center, pilots and officials gathered for a quick meeting. Q had returned safely, though his jet needed repairs. He stood beside Jia, still in his flight suit. "The second wave has twice as many ships," General Park announced, "and their shields have been modified. Our previous tactics won't work again. We can't win a direct fight," Q said. "Not against those numbers." A heavy silence fell over the room. Then Jia stepped forward. "There is another way," she said. "My brother wants me. He sees this as a family matter now. If I surrender myself, he might." "No," Q interrupted. "They'll kill you and attack anyway." "Then what do you suggest?" Jia asked. Q's eyes lit up with a dangerous idea. "We take the fight to them. Not their fleet, but their commander. If we can reach Prince Ta's ship." "That's suicide," General Park said. "No Earth aircraft could get through their defenses." "Mine could," Q said, "especially with Princess Jia's help." Jia understood at once. "My royal access codes. They would let us through some of the automatic defenses." "Exactly," Q nodded. "One jet, flying fast and low. Not trying to win the war, just trying to reach the command ship." "And then what?" General Park asked. "Then I speak to my brother," Jia said, "face to face, with evidence of humanity's worth." The plan was risky, perhaps impossible, but they had no better options. While Earth's remaining fighters prepared to defend against the second wave, Q's jet was quickly repaired and armed. Jia changed into a flight suit like Q's. She would fly with him. "Are you sure about this?" Q asked as they walked to his jet. "No," Jia admitted. but unsure we must try. They climbed into the aircraft. This time, Jia didn't feel the excitement of her first flight. She felt fear, but also determination. If we can reach the command ship, she told Q, land in the main hangar. My code should override the security. From there, I know the way to the bridge. Q nodded and started the engine. Ready? Ready. The jet raced down the runway and lifted into the air. Above them, the battle had already begun. Earth's fighters engaged the Dominion ships, drawing their attention while Q flew low over the ocean, trying to avoid detection. Coming up on the first defense line, Q said, "Time for those codes." Jia transmitted her royal authorization to the automated security systems. For 10 seconds, nothing happened. Then the signal came back. Access granted. It worked, she said in surprise. Don't sound so shocked, Q laughed, though his face remained focused. This was your idea. They flew through a gap in the defenses, climbing rapidly toward Prince Ta's command ship. A few Dominion fighters noticed them and gave chase, but Q's skilled flying kept them ahead. The command ship grew larger in their view. Its massive hangar doors were closed. Can you open those? Q asked, weaving to avoid energy blasts from behind. Jia sent another code sequence. The huge doors began to slide open. Head straight in, she shouted. Q pushed the jet to full speed. They shot into the hangar just as enemy fire clipped their wing. The plane spun, smoke trailing behind it. Q fought the controls, managing to land roughly on the hangar floor. Dominion soldiers surrounded them immediately. Jia and Q climbed out, hands raised. Take us to Prince Ta, Jia commanded in the Dominion language. By royal authority, I demand to see my brother. The soldiers hesitated, but Jia's royal blood still commanded respect. They escorted the pair through the ship, Q limping from an injury during their rough landing. Are you all right? Jia whispered. I'll manage, Q said through gritted teeth. Just get us to your brother. When the doors to the bridge slid open, Prince Ta turned, his face showing both anger and surprise. Sister, he said coldly, you bring your pet human directly into my hands. How convenient. Brother, Jia replied, standing tall despite her fear. We need to talk. About Earth, about the future, and about what our people have forgotten. Prince Ta circled Jia and Q like a predator. The bridge of his command ship was filled with Dominion officers watching in silence. You betray your people for these creatures? Tai asked Jia. You give them our military secrets. I chose to stop an unjust war, Jia answered. Humans deserve freedom, brother. Ta laughed coldly. Freedom. They will destroy themselves without our guidance. You're wrong, Jia said. She turned to address the other Dominion officers. I have lived among humans. I have seen what makes them special. Their primitive technology. Ta mocked. Their connection to it, Jia corrected. Humans don't just use machines. They bond with them. Feel through them. She gestured to Q. Tell them about your aircraft. Despite his injury, Q stood straight. My jet is not just a weapon or a tool. When I fly, the plane becomes part of me. Its wings are my wings. Its speed is my speed. The Dominion officers looked confused. Ta shook his head. Meaningless sentiment, he said. No, Jia insisted. It's why humans fight so well with inferior technology. It's what our people have lost. She walked to the main view screen and activated it. Look at the battle. Outside, Earth's fighters danced through space, each moving uniquely, unpredictably. Dominion ships moved in perfect formations, following programmed patterns. We've become too dependent on computers, Jia continued. We've forgotten how to truly connect with our technology, how to make it an extension of ourselves. Some of the officers nodded slightly. Ta noticed and grew angry. Enough, he shouted. Guards, take the human to the holding cells. My sister needs to remember her place. 2 guards grabbed Q. He struggled despite his pain. "Wait," Ja called. She pulled a small device from her pocket, a data core she had brought from Earth. "Before you decide, see what I have learned." She inserted the core into the ship's system. Images filled the screens: human art, music, flight shows, children learning to fly simple planes, pilots caring for their aircraft, and finally, the memorial wall for fallen pilots. "They honor those who die in their machines," Jia said softly, "because they understand the bond between pilot and craft. Our ancestors once knew this too, before we let computers do everything for us." The bridge was silent. Even Tai seemed affected by the images. Suddenly, alarms sounded. A junior officer called out, "Prince Ta, Earth's fighters have broken through our left flank. They're targeting our shield generators." On the screen, they watched human jets executing perfect attack runs, hitting weak points that should have been protected. "How?" Ta demanded. "Their weapons are inferior. Their pilots are not," Jia said, echoing her words from weeks ago. "They fly with heart, not just with skill." The ship shuddered as something hit it. Ta looked at the damage reports, then at his sister and the human pilot. His face showed conflict. "If we destroy Earth," Jia said, "we destroy something our own people need to remember. The joy of direct control, the partnership between being and machine." Ta stared at the humans on the screen, fighting with such spirit in their simple aircraft. "Stand down, all ships," he finally ordered. The officers looked shocked but obeyed. Throughout the fleet, Dominion weapons powered down. "This isn't over," Ta told Jia. "The Emperor will need to be convinced." "I will speak to Father," Jia said. "There can be peace between our worlds. We can learn from each other." In the days that followed, a fragile truce formed. Jia used her royal position to negotiate rather than conquer. She spoke of cultural exchange, of what each species could teach the other. Earth remained free. The Dominion began to reconsider its ways. One bright morning, weeks later, Jia stood on an airfield watching Q prepare his jet for flight. His injuries had healed, and the scars only added to his character. "Ready for another lesson?" he asked with a smile. Jia nodded, climbing into the back seat. As they soared into the blue sky, she felt again the direct connection between pilot, passenger, and machine. The freedom of flight without computers filtering every sensation. Below them, humans and Dominion visitors looked up at the jet streaking across the sky, a symbol of what was possible when different worlds found common ground. "Where to today?" Jia asked through her helmet mic. "Anywhere," Q answered. "The whole sky is ours." And it was, not as conquerors and conquered, but as beings who had found, in each other and in the joy of flight, something worth preserving across the stars.